officer who took an oath to protect and serve the community. What you did to me was wrong. You raped me. You knew I was highly intoxicated, yet you used that as a selfish opportunity. My life has been forever changed. Every aspect of my life has been affected. My children have struggled. My friends, family, and loved ones have watched me through a year of hell. I can't see a police vehicle without feeling fear or be reminded of what happened.
Hello, everyone. It's me, the Truth Pusher. You see this woman right here? Her name is Melissa McMillan. She was raped back in 2016 by this man right here. His name is Eric Fritz. And he was a police officer at the time, and he was on duty in the state of Michigan, Van Buren County. Now, there's many people out there that will say, oh, this is just a bad apple. Every time a police officer does something bad, that's what they want to say. It's just a bad apple. There's a lot of bad apples out there that we need to talk about. There's a lot of cases like this or even worse. But I'm going to use this story because of two elements. Because I know there's cases out there that was even worse than this that cops have been accused of. But one, the man only got 1 year in jail for his crime and 5 months probation. Y'all know that's crazy, right? And then there's another element to the case where it's my biggest fear. It's everybody's biggest. Well, I can't speak for everybody. It's my biggest fear. Scares the hell out of me. And I'm going to discuss that later when I show you the video of how this man eventually ended up assaulting this woman. But right now, I want to talk about some of these bad apples. We need to discuss some of these bad apples right here. Because all the time, all you hear police officers always saying, we're not all bad. It's just a few bad apples. The media portrays us bad. Now, where was all these police officers when the media was portraying black people for decades, stereotyping black people? Where were they at then? And then they want to say, well, why black people don't speak out about black on black crime? Even though it's not our job to stop crime. And I've said this many times, and I have to repeat myself. If a white person do a mass shooting, they don't run to the white community and say, well, what about this? You know why they don't do that? Because we know it's the police job to stop crime. Police rarely speak out against police bad behavior. They have what they call the blue wall of silence. They don't say anything until it reaches a high level of media attention. They didn't say nothing about all this right here. Look at this.
What did I tell you?
And that black woman, she got tased while she was pregnant. She was pregnant getting tased. I mean, police have been doing bad for a long time. Look at this guy right here. He was the Golden Gate Killer. He raped and murdered since the 1970s while he was a police officer. While he was a police officer. The man has been murdering since the 1970s as a police officer. He finally got caught in 2018 because DNA. He would have never got caught because he was a police officer. And when they do get caught, this guy, Arthur Crabtree, he worked for the Glendale police in California for 15 years. The whole time, the whole 15 years, he was a police officer. He was molesting little girls in uniform. And then they finally caught him, and he only did 3 years in jail. 3 years in jail. And then when he got out of jail, he started doing it again as a sex offender. And then when they caught him, they didn't lock him up. They gave him a court date. And instead of showing up for his court date, the man went on the run. He went on the run in Mexico. He was on the run for 4 years. Now, and this is in Southern California. Now, the whole time he was on the run, the local news, they didn't do one story. This was a police officer who was a child molester. They didn't do one big story on him, like flash his face all over the news to let parents know that a child molester who was a police officer is on the loose. They didn't put his face splattered all over the news. Like they did former LAPD Christopher Donner. Remember Christopher Donner? He was just on the run for less than a week, and they had his face splattered all over the news. It was a level 5 story over and over and over. And I don't care what anybody say. He was on the run because LAPD was trying to murder him for turning in bad cops. He broke the blue wall of silence and had to pay for it with his life. No wonder they don't tell on other cops. They'll get killed. And you didn't hear anybody speak out against these bad cops. Not one cop said anything when Fritz only got 1 year. And the reason he got 1 year, back to this Fritz case, here's what happened in the story. And this is my biggest fear. To be pulled over in the dark with just a police officer. That scares the hell out of me. On a lonely road, and it's just you and the officer. I know y'all, well, they protect to serve. Whatever. That's what happened to this woman. Look, this is what happened to her. Okay. She went out one night with some friends to have fun. She got drunk. She was too drunk to drive. She knew she couldn't drive, so she asked a friend to drive who she thought was capable of driving. Come to find out, he was drunk too. She didn't know that. On the way home, they get pulled over. The friend gets a DUI, he gets arrested. One officer takes him to jail, and they leave Melissa out there with Officer Fritz, all in the dark, by herself. She should have been safe, right, with a police officer who's taken an oath to protect and serve. The man took an oath. But that's not what he did. He decided to take her back to a hotel room. And he violated her while he was on duty. While on duty. Now, I know there's people out there that say, well, she was drunk. You know, come on, man. You can see her right there. She can't give consent. Look at her. But he's seen her naked. This man was married. You can't give consent when you're intoxicated. A police officer should know that. And because he was a police officer, they gave him a break. He only faced 2 accounts. First degree criminal sexual conduct and 1 count of kidnapping. And he pleaded down, man. They let him plead down. Can you believe that? To a lesser charge of unlawful imprisonment. And he got 1 year in jail, 5 months probation, and he only had to pay $100,000. But the $100,000 didn't come out of his pocket. The city had to pay it. And that's a damn shame that every time these cops do something bad, I mean, settlements for cops, it's in the billions. It's in the billions. But all y'all want to say is, it's just a bad cop. This man spent 1 year in jail, probably got out at 8 months. And now a predator is back on the street, just like that cop earlier who went back on the street to molest again. But that's my biggest fear, man. To be pulled over by a cop is just me and him on a dark road. And I shouldn't have that fear. But they say what you should do is put on your hazards. If you don't feel safe to stop, you put your hazards on, and it lets the cop know. It should let the cop know that you drive into a safe place. Also, you could call 911 and let them know as well, so they won't think you evading the police. Call 911 and let them know you're trying to drive somewhere safe. You don't feel comfortable on that dark road with that officer who took an oath to protect and serve. And it don't always work when you're trying to go to a safe place, though. That's what happened to that Army lieutenant. That Army lieutenant who got tased, got guns pulled on him. He was just trying to find a safe place to park. He didn't want to stop out in the boonies with cops with guns. And can you blame him knowing the cops? You can't really blame him. This woman, she was pulling over. Look at this video right here. She was pulling over. She put on her hazards, and watch what the cop do.
They hit the inside wall. It rolled over. Get me EMS started.
This was a pregnant woman just looking for a safe place to pull over, and the cops decide to do a pit maneuver on her. And she was pregnant. See, the biggest problem with these cops, a lot of times they're power tripping. They got too much power with no accountability. No accountability because of qualified immunity. All these laws and regulations protect the cops. How do we expect them to stop their bad behavior if there's no accountability? And they know it's bad cops. They know bad cops have been around for a long time. You know why I know they know? Because they had to create a police agency to police the police. Is that crazy? Nobody thinks that's crazy. They had to create a police agency to police the police. And we thought with cameras, some of this stuff would stop. They are still violating people's rights. Even with cameras. Can you imagine what they used to do before there were cameras? Man.